Proximity alert. Vessel approaching. The vessel is hailing.
Space.
Hi, folks. Welcome to Left Trek, your leftist Star Trek podcast. I'm Eric. Joining me is Brian, Trashcan1312 on Twitch.
That's my name. Don't wear it out.
And I'm also joined by Zots.
Yeah, what up? I'm Zots, formerly of Kamazot's Altar on Twitch, currently at twitch.tv/only Zots.
We begin episode 1 of Left Trek. Where else but at the beginning? No, not that beginning. We're ignoring that series. And we're also ignoring that series. And I guess we're ignoring that other
series.
Well, we're ignoring a series of series, starting at the beginning, which is, of course, Encounter at Farpoint Station, Parts 1 and 2.
That's right. Next Generation is the place to start. Fuck the original series. Get out of here. Discovery. I'd rather eat my own foot.
It's real bad. The hidden lore for this podcast is that about a year ago, we attempted to record another leftist Star Trek podcast. It's the same one. We were going to start with the Picard series. It was so bad that I became entirely dispirited from the project for an entire year. And now we're back at I can't really say it's the good Star Trek, but we're starting where we should have started with Encounter at Farpoint Station. Now, that is not to say that if you are attempting to get someone into the series that you should start at the beginning, because it's aged is just a little bit.
Has it?
Yeah. And so do not follow the guidance of Left Trek when attempting to actually get someone into the series. It's probably not going to work out. They're going to be insanely bored. Speaking of, the roles for this podcast are me and Brian. We are the Star Trek veterans. I guess our distinction with Star Trek is that we both don't like the new stuff. I mean, who does? But Brian likes Voyager more, and I like Deep Space Nine more.
Well, no, I think Deep Space Nine and Voyager are on an even plane for me.
Okay,
I think they're both really good in different ways.
I hate Voyager, and I love Deep Space Nine, so I guess that'll be the variety here. And joining us is the Rube, played by Zots, who has a limited experience with the actual show of Star Trek itself.
I know fuck all outside of what would be just taking in passing online. I got nothing. Like I said earlier, my only experience with any Star Trek was that it came on after Hercules and Xena when I was younger. That was it. That was when I was like, okay, bored now, and then I would go and do something else.
My experience is I watched the show a lot growing up as a kid, and sort of rediscovered it once again as a young adult slash adult, and it's become a frequent rewatch for me. I watch shows frequently to fall asleep as background noise, and when it's not, it's pretty much always a Star Trek. So I keep up to date on not the beginning of Next Generation, usually not the very beginning of Deep Space Nine, also not the very beginning of Voyager, but season 3 through 7 of each one, mainly the Next Generation and Deep Space Nine. How often do you actually rewatch the show, Brian? Do you rewatch the show?
go through and watch it. Well, the thing is, I am not like, I doubt I've seen every episode of every series.
Really?
Like so I actually had a very similar experience to Zot's growing up, where I would watch it in passing. Nobody in my house wanted to watch it except for me, and so it was, it was something I was like, oh well, this is something I can catch sometimes, because it was on in the evening. I was usually off trying to, I don't know, play with Pokemons or like look at Beanie Babies. And so
90s, yeah.
we had the 90s. You remember those, everybody? But then as I got older, as I discovered the beauty of Netflix and other streaming services, I was just like, oh well, I can actually just like sit down and watch all this. And so that's kind of what I've done. But also my attentions are fleeting, so I will frequently start and stop in between things and restart things all the time. So that's that. But I've seen most of several of the series, but I haven't watched like Discovery or Picard past the first episode. And done all that. And I love the movies. Not the J.J. Abrams ones. They're okay, but they're just action flicks. But I have watched all of the movies, and the original movies, and they were something I still enjoy to this day, even if they are bad in a lot of ways.
This is including the absolutely terrible Next Generation movies.
Yes.
I was a big defender for a while of some of the terrible, like, schlocky Next Generation movies, until I eventually realized that they were way worse than I remember enjoying them when I was in high school or younger. Mm-hmm. I remember I had one of those portable DVD players, and I'd bring that around, and I had two movies. I had a copy of the movie Core. Anyone remember Core?
Wait, is that the one where they restarted the planet?
Yes.
With nukes?
Yes.
That movie sucked.
I watched the fuck out of that movie as a kid. I loved it. I watched I think it is literally the only director's commentary of any movie I've ever seen.
Amazing.
And I still remember a lot of it. It was Core and a movie of similar quality, Star Trek Nemesis, which is the end of the Next Generation, the terrible end of the Next Generation series, until the next Generation with the absolutely terrible Picard series. Now, while me and Brian did watch the first two episodes along with our good friend Elliot from Internet Today, they was really bad. I went on to watch the rest of the Picard series. Season 2 of the Picard series, by the way, is either already out or is coming out. I cannot even fucking imagine why. It was one of the worst things ever. I can't imagine there's a lot of people watching it. Is Star Trek nostalgia really that strong that it can float this trash, or is it just it coasting off of the wave of money that CBS/Paramount is desperately trying to keep their streaming services alive on? You decide. I don't know. Ever hear of Star Trek Day? It's the 55th anniversary, and Paramount is hosting a bunch of stuff. Buy their fucking shit, you idiots. Anyway.
Yeah, it's today. Everything on every social media thing as of recording is today. Today is the Star Trek Day for. So, yeah. So we are oddly topical for the evening.
as topical as Star Trek can be.
Yeah, right.
Once again, we start with encounter at Farpoint Station, and let me start off with and this gets to the open question. How does everyone remember the first episode, not having just seen it? But Brian, how did you remember it as compared to how it actually ended up, how it actually was.
So one thing I did not remember, and this is something maybe I'm just like a movie making asshole, that pays too much attention to stuff now. But how bad the sound quality is for everything really stuck out to me. Like,
I noticed that too.
yeah, I remember like Picard walking into a turbo lift and then sounding like he had just walked into a garage. And like the huge echo, like one of those big concrete garages that you see in downtown cities, like that, but also completely muffled and in a garage at the same time. It was like, can we please get a lavalier mic in here or something? I don't know what you were thinking by having like a point mic 100 miles away from this scene. But just little things like that. Some of the scenery, while not as janky as like the original series, there were still some moments where you're just like, that's some trash you found on the ground and spray painted silver. And that's not against the rules or anything, but you just kind of these are things that you might just gloss over in your mind if you haven't watched it in a long time.
The one thing for the set that I picked up was a panel on a wall that was clearly supposed to be some sort of like metal or maybe like fabric, like hard surface, but it wasn't really stretched out all the way like a sofa cushion, so it kind of like it was the only one on like the whole set from what I could tell, but it was just kind of like scrunching up on itself, and I really didn't notice anything else that was too conspicuous, but that stood out to me for some reason.
There was one in the battle bridge in the captain's ready room off the battle bridge. It looked like they had just repurposed a soundstage and like thrown up some silver painted plywood on the walls to like make it look space.
Oh my god, that was a little fucking like sound recording booth, wasn't it?
Yeah.
At one point, the captain walks into the I guess the battle bridge ready room, something that I don't believe we literally ever see in the entirety of the series, and there's lots of like actual just soundproofing foam just on the walls. It's like a streamer's bedroom.
I mean, to be fair, I mean it does fit like a sci-fi aesthetic, like the wavy walls or whatever, right? Like that's it works on a level.
Oh, absolutely. It's just one of those things that sticks out in the mind sometimes.
Yeah, I think if all of us didn't know exactly what that material was, then it probably it works just fine. That kind of stuff just sticks out sometimes.
Yeah, I appreciate like the bootstrappy shit right there, where it's like, yeah, you worked with what you had, and I understand, right? And that's something I do appreciate about a lot of filmmaking. It's just something, looking back, you go and say, oh wow, imagining like how long this series goes on, the kind of budget that they were working with for large portions of it, and you see like a pilot episode, and it's just like, wow, things changed a lot after that.
So I might not have watched the show or like be familiar with any of the plot points or anything like that, but existing on the internet and being very bored while taking a shit, I did happen to read like random articles about like this show in particular and like how broke they were for like the first couple seasons, because like the amount of money that they actually wanted for like the grand scope of shit was just like way too much. Which is one of the reasons why I think CBS didn't take it right away, right? Like I'm not sure if it wasn't picked up by CBS at first or not, but
I don't know the history of that actually.
For the amount that I've watched the show, I know very little about most of the behind the scenes stuff like that.
Yeah, and like something to do with like their costumes too. It was like, I think it was like their costumes stunk or some shit like that.
like physically, like they smelled bad.
Yeah, hold on, let me double check that. Continue. Yeah, continue vamping.
So yeah, one thing that I did notice for the audio, and we'll definitely talk more about this scene, the introduction of the holodeck, the quote unquote outdoors scene between Riker and I guess Wesley shows up and Data. The thing that I remember very distinctly is that they're clearly not in the wilderness, but they have like a audio track that is just like the wilderness, and then their mics are being recorded like as if it was outdoors, with like outdoor sounds overwhelming the audio, but it was a set. It was not outdoors. It was fake. They successfully recreated the sensation of getting terrible audio by filming outdoors inside a it was so strange.
The sound engineering throughout this is just like kind of boggling. That's one of the points where it's just like, what are you doing with these levels? And you know, in retrospect, I have no idea what it was like to work with audio equipment in the 90s. The earliest I was working with audio equipment was like 2008. So like maybe it was just fucking possible to get good sound back then. But yeah, it really does stick out in a lot of spots where it's just like, oof.
The thing that I can contrast that to the very wonderful ADR work, the sound people and Brent Spiner perfectly, because the scene is that Data is mimicking the actual voice of Picard and the actual voice of Q. And it's perfect. The ADR is perfect. The inflection from Brent Spiner is perfect. I was very impressed by that. So I guess it makes it contrast with the other audio issues more.
Well, you see, what they did was they went to the captain's ready room off the battle bridge and recorded that scene.
Oh, yeah.
That's where they did all the ADR, you know.
Perfect sound quality.
All right, so I pulled up Screen Rant about the Next Generation. So yeah, we talked about it when the show was going on, about how Wesley Crusher was Gene Roddenberry's self-insert character. Wesley actually came from Gene Roddenberry's middle name. Even though he was the most disliked character in retrospect, it was almost entirely the fault of the writing, because it was Gene Roddenberry's fault. That's how he wanted it to be. He wanted to, that was his self-insert.
He self-inserted one of the most annoying characters in television.
Kind of goes to show you the kind of person that's Gene Roddenberry. Well, I mean, we'll get to more of that. Interesting fellow, Gene Roddenberry.
And the cast had to steal food because during the first season they were such a low-budget show that everyone thought it would fail. So the cast ended up doing desperate things. According to Denise Crosby, Next Generation never had good food for the cast and crew. She described it as the crap leftovers. While shows like Cheers had all the good stuff, Crosby's solution was simple. She stole food from Cheers and brought it over to share with her cast and crew.
Hell yeah.
That's great.
I'm about that.
Yeah, so she basically went over there and she was just like, fuck Ted Danson, and just like, and then just like stole a bunch of fucking Danish, some cheese Danish.
Well, you know that the Cheers set definitely had like some really primo craft services. So I'm guessing they just were they barely even noticed, you know. Come on, just bring it on over.
That blonde woman with the pixie cut is squirreling away food. Oh, poor woman. She must be homeless. Look, she's wearing pajamas.
she's wearing odd pajamas, some sort of space pajamas.
No one say anything. Just let her take the Krispy Kreme. It's fine.
I just gotta say, like, you remember Tunic Guy?
Yeah, with his legs, with his
beautiful gams.
With his beautiful fucking thighs. Yes, yeah. I remember that.
I'm just sad because now I know that guy had to steal food from Cheers.
Yeah, they had to steal Cheers food.
That's too bad. Used to be that in Hollywood, gams like that would get you places, but
That's right.
but now they just take you to the Cheers set to go steal food.
Denise Crosby rocks. Yeah, everyone's aware of this. The in this episode, the already becoming completely irrelevant security officer. I can definitely tell why she ended up leaving this show. A lot of people think like, oh, okay, she left the show to be on what the fuck was that other thing that she was on at the time?
I don't remember.
Some sitcom or movie or something. She had a healthy career. But yeah, so she genuinely did leave the show because she felt her character was pretty much worthless. And it was. The character was worthless. It's completely irrelevant. Even in the scenes where she's taking action, she's overshadowed by Worf, who is doing literally the exact same thing, advocating for the same things. Just they're there just to be, the muscle. And she does get some more character development later on, and Worf just kind of stays the same forever. Even into fucking D Space Nine. We'll talk about that sometime.
100 years from now, we'll get there. Yeah.
100 years.
Also, yeah. So here we go. So Gene Roddenberry, right, known for his utopian vision, was not known for his knowledge on fabrics. So when designing, selecting the fabric and designs for the costumes on set, he chose everything to be spandex.
Oh no!
So while it made the cast look futuristic, it ended up making the costume room or the costume design room or wherever they store the shit, or costume department, that's what it is, quote, smelly and unpleasant.
smells like a fucking locker room.
And that was I don't know who Blackman is, but that was Blackman's quote when he joined the show, or she, I don't know what actor that is, when they joined the show on the 3rd season. So these costumes just been sitting, just getting funky, Spandex, let's see here. But perhaps the most offending characteristic of spandex was the stench that confronted Blackman when he first took over the Next Generation's costuming department. Spandex retains odor, so there is a certain part where if you're wearing them for a long period of time, you can't really clean the smell out, and it becomes a little bit annoying. And it also retains the odor of the dry cleaning fluid. It is, on a day-to-day basis, unpleasant.
Ooh.
Yeah, Robert Blackman was the. I didn't recognize that name. He was the costume designer, and he worked on most of the seasons, the last 5 seasons specifically. So, 2 through 7, I guess, of the Next Generation.
So basically, so the crew. So then the Star Trek crew just was already ready for the smell of a convention center. Then they were already prepped for what Star Trek conventions would smell like. Like they were just like, there's like. Are we filming? Are we shooting today? What is that? That's, oh man, having flashbacks. This is awful.
We were born in the body odor. You merely adopted.
I just like to imagine that, going onto the Enterprise, in world, in real world Enterprise, right? You go into it and it just smells like a gym everywhere. It is like, oh, I'm getting beamed on board this really fancy spaceship. Wow. Oh wow, my body has been destroyed and now is being reconstructed inside of a spaceship. Oh wow, somehow I have the same memories. And I'm gonna go walk down the house. Oh my god, it smells like a gym. What the fuck is wrong with this place?
Imagine so, I mean, hey, I know this isn't political, but I have to take from the knowledge that I have. So like I brought this up before, but like when the conquistadors like came over to like the quote unquote new world, and they were interacting with like the indigenous cultures there, the indigenous people were trying to get them to bathe because they fucking stank, because they were just fucking like wearing like plate metal, like plate armor and shit like that, like in the rainforest, and they would only wash their hands and face. They would never like take off and whatever. So
I like to imagine that that actually the Vulcans just smell bad, but they're like they just have a cultural thing where they're just like, we don't wash, and they got that Spaniard energy, right?
Actually, in Star Trek Enterprise, they have a Vulcan on board, and the Vulcans are have sensitive smells, and they constantly talk about just how much these fucking humans just smell like shit all the time. The sexy Vulcan lady on Star Trek Enterprise, who pretty much any time she's ever speaking to another Vulcan, the Vulcan's like, how did you handle the smell? And and she literally takes nasal suppressants. Like she actually dampens her sense of smell. This is in the show, and she goes to like the fucking doctor so she doesn't have to smell these fucking humans.
Yeah,
that's hilarious.
Yeah, because they've mastered space travel, the warp drives and shit. But they just can't beat the funk. This is
you can never beat the funk.
You can never beat the funk.
And by the way, do absolutely be as political as possible on this podcast.
I mean, there's no politics in Star Trek at all, right?
That's true.
No politics in Star Trek. That
is true. So maybe actually, yeah. Now that I think about it, maybe keep your fucking commie bullshit to yourself.
Star Trek is completely apolitical, if I'm to believe it. There's there's nothing political in that whole first episode. Nothing with like the murdering of all the lawyers to stand trial and only truth. Nothing to be said about that.
Let's get to that actually. So we begin the episode, intro sequence, blah blah blah. Things starting to get introduced in increasingly clunky ways. It's all very boring. But it's the setup to a grand science fiction adventure. First thing about the first episode, the mission kind of changes pretty quickly, doesn't it? Because the whole point is that they're explorers. They are to be exploring things. They don't do a lot of exploring, really. They go to Farpoint Station. That's supposed to be the edge of charted space, the edge of known space. They say something like that. And out there, it's just nothing. It's nothing that's known to the Federation, to humanity, and that's just not true. Is it as the series goes on? Because they don't explore ever. They really don't. Okay, yes, they do go to some places on the way to things, but especially like even earlier on, whenever they're encountering something, they're encountering it on the way to something that they know. They're going from like a starbase to another starbase, and then something happens in between, like the journey from the starbase to a planet. That's just there. They're not exploring anything.
They're just charting the space between star bases. I get it. Also, we got to remember that what Farpoint is, right? This is a planet where some people have decided that they are going to set up a station on the planet to invite commerce, right? That's the whole point of that place, right?
Well, they're selling the station to the Federation, I guess.
It wasn't sell it. What they wanted to do was they wanted the Federation to bring them into the Federation so that they could, and then have a good relationship with the Federation. The Federation could use it as a port. And that was kind of the idea, right?
Yeah, because they're not like allies, and they're not like a species or planet that's attempting to join the Federation. I guess it's just some opportunistic people who end up getting the capabilities to build a space station in order to I guess invite commerce. It's so and there's another thing I wanted to mention on that, but first, of course, they're on their way to Farpoint Station, and who do they run into? Recurring character, forget his real name. What's his real name?
I don't know. Q?
Yeah, Q.
Yeah. Da da da. Q.
What the fuck is his real name? I forget.
I don't know.
He's a fucking knob. That's all I know. Is he hates his fans, which I think is like
It's like something Delaney, I think.
kind of funny when you think like it's just like any entertainer, any entertainer or actor or whatever that like is publicly known for being a piece of shit to the people that like that make him who he is just like, to me, just baffling. So it's like, I don't know, like your name could definitely just be lost to the ages for all I give a shit. Like
John DeLance is his name, by the way. Yeah.
Good.
And he's kind of, and I guess he is sort of playing himself as Q. And let's be clear, he does a phenomenal job as Q. He's a perfect casting for this character of Q. He really brings him to life. The only other thing I remember seeing him in is he's the father of Jesse's heroin addict girlfriend in Breaking Bad, who ends up crashing, who's like an air traffic controller, then he ends up purposely crashing two planes together.
Wow.
That's that's the thing that happens in Breaking Bad, I'm pretty sure. I never watched the last season. I'm sorry. But so Q ends up showing up. So they're on their way to Farpoint. Q shows up. He starts talking shit. He first appears in and I have it listed here as a Q destroys colonialism. He shows up as a Christopher Columbus, or I think specifically Christopher Columbus. Like he's a parody of this character, or as a skewering of humanity. It's savageness. Its propensity to well, you know how humans do, they suck, and he's it brings up an interesting kind of philosophical critique that Q has that really kind of gets dropped. I guess it's just to set up like this is the Federation. This is how they're different from America. This is how it's different from the original series, where like Kirk goes down to a planet and civilizes the population by reading them the Constitution. That's something.
Wait, did that actually happen?
Real. That is actually real.
That's wild.
I fucking hate that. In fact,
actually, is it the Constitution or is it the Declaration of Independence? It's one of those, for definitely.
Either one can go fuck itself.
Goes down and reads the Articles of Confederation to civilize the savages.
And now, if I may quote Andrew Jackson.
it's oh god, yeah, I can't, because he's holding up a constitution, he's reading it to these savage people. We the people.
Hear me. Hear this. Among my people, we carry many such words as this from many lands, many worlds. Many are equally good and are as well respected. But wherever we have gone, no words have said this thing of importance in quite this way. Look at these three words written larger than the rest, with a special pride never written before or since. Tall words proudly saying, we the people. That which you called id plebnista was not written for the chiefs or the kings or the warriors or the rich or the powerful, but for all the people. Down the centuries, you have slurred the meaning out of the words, we, the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity, to ordain and establish this Constitution. These words and the words that follow were not written only for the Yangs, but for the Coms as well.
The Coms?
They must apply to everyone, or they mean nothing. Do you understand?
I do not fully understand. One named Kirk. But the holy words will be obeyed. I swear it.
Oh my god.
So Q annihilates that. Q destroys colonialism. Hashtag canceled. He goes on to accuse the humans of being a savage child race. He demands, in his infinite power, he has the ability to go anywhere and do anything. He's essentially a god in the Star Trek canon. He imprisons the humans, calls them a savage race, puts them on trial eventually. And there's a few things here to point out. So first, yes, he shows up as Christopher Columbus. Then he shows up as a World War II general, like in a classic World War II outfit that they pulled out of the sweaty costume designing room, apparently.
Uh-huh. Oh, it was probably the only thing that didn't smell like fucking dick. That didn't smell like fucking like sweaty dick. Like it was.
Yeah, it was wool though, so it smelled like wool. But but that's a whole other thing.
And then even accuses the humans of that time in the World War II like Allied general outfit of still being savages, still being the creatures that are killing each other, dividing the spoils of a planet. It's pretty woke. Q's pretty woke. Pretty cool.
Not
pretty good.
Not really.
He's woke.
Not really.
He's
not really.
He's super woke. He's amazing.
I don't think so.
He crushes colonialism. It's over. It's dead.
Nah, that's a big no for me, dog.
This is why colonialism ended in 1987 when this aired.
Okay, so the problems with Q is like the problems with like any other like quote unquote like being that believes itself superior. I mean, like, yeah, Q literally like whatever the fuck he is, if they are in fact a god, fine, cool, like whatever, like let's give him that. Let's just say he's a fucking god. And if he is said god and he chooses to do nothing with it but like pester the fucking Enterprise and like just like waste his time like with doing like do better. I mean, like, can't you do something else than just like use your powers to like put on a fucking like magic show for like these people who like you just ultimately want to kill? Like, couldn't you just for just like fun, like just be like, okay, here you go, poof, you're back in time, solve the fucking see how horrible Christopher Columbus was, experience this in its entirety right now, and tell me that I am wrong about like the foundation of what it is to be an exploratory species when y'all can't even control yourselves around each other, right? And then just like take away like all their advantages of like whatever, like no phasers, none of this shit, so like they have to like experience like, I don't know, malaria area. Like fucking Worf ends up getting his fucking hands cut off and tied around his neck and forced to fucking go work a silver mine. You know what I mean? Like, because he's just like so fucking strong, and there's like nothing they can fucking do about it. Like, and then then Q just brings them back, and then just like brings them to like the front lines of like World War II, splits half of them up to like be like on the German side, and then like splits the other half to the fucking Allies side, makes them have to like fight each other even though they don't fucking know it yet, and they're just ignorant like about like they're trying to like moralize the SS and shit like this, and then just brings them back to the contemporary time, forces them over and over again to live these lives.
Well, there's some interesting things there as well with things that this show will actually explore in a future bit. But I will say, dead on the money with the Q people. Yeah, no, obviously not woke. They're just these kind of malevolent gods that have achieved omniscience or nigh omniscience, and are just real fucking bored and want to go fuck with people. There you go. They're just fucking around, and there's all this stuff eventually, and it gets into this in Voyager where Q becomes a very recurring character in that series, almost obnoxiously so, despite some of the episodes being interesting. That's kind of Voyager's thing. It takes like an interesting concept explored, probably specifically in the Next Generation, and then kind of just like ruins it and just kind of makes it more boring by exploring it and making it more typical. The Q Continuum is definitely part of that. But yeah, no. Interesting choice. And Picard. There is some textual stuff to this, because Picard does accuse Q of just being this of not following his own standards that he attempts to hold humanity to. It's he's a foil character, but there's some interesting stuff going on.
I feel like when discussing Q, there's one word that we can use now to describe him, and really the whole continuum. They're trolls. Like that's what they do. And like while they serve the purpose of going and saying like, hey, for the audience, it's like a way of saying, hey, here's like some criticism of what's going on in the scene. But ultimately, if you look at the form of what the Q Continuum is in lore, in the show, it's just like they're trolls. They're fucking with people because they're incredibly bored, and that's then you get into the whole question of like immortality and aren't you going to get bored, and the show says yes.
Yes, absolutely.
And that's fine. And I mean, I'm just, in my mind, it's like you could do better.
Oh, absolutely. Q could have freed that fucking alien before they even got there. Q instead says, "No, I'm going to use this as a way to test you, to see if you're good." And it's like, well, are you good, Q? Nobody's concerned if Q is good, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, like even Picard tried to fucking like be like, well, what about you? And then like he was just basically like, yeah, what about me? Huh? Like the fuck? Like I like I said, I think it would be much better, and I feel like it would just be like a way better like first season if like they just like, if that's what it was just Q putting like imagine the different atmosphere for this show, right? Where it's just Q putting through like the main crew. Imagine Picard trying his best through like the Spanish Inquisition. Like Q just like makes it so that like he just can't die, but he's just having to face the horrors of humanity firsthand, just at nauseum, just like stretched out on throughout time, and then brought back to like that first initial meeting where he's just like, okay, now how do you feel? Just like
you're trying to re-zero Picard.
Yeah, let's fucking go.
Yeah.
There is an attempt, and keep in mind, and let's keep in mind, this is Encounter at Farpoint is one of the better episodes in season 1. So
Oh God.
I know about like wait, what we watched was like one of the better better episodes of season 1.
In season 1, yes. The quality
It gets better in the long
is,
run.
Quality is yeah. Oh no, the first season and a half of this show is unwatchable. it's really bad. It at some points, like, it's good. It's necessary. No, it's something to get you familiar with the characters when you get into the good stuff. So if someone was rewatching from Farpoint, that's why they get familiar with it. But it's mostly just garbage trash, and I think that's a great way to start. I think
Mm-hmm.
it's useful analysis. So something that you mentioned about like an interesting concept for Q stuff. There is actually an episode that's, I don't think it's too far away, where they try to do something in that same vein. But like, imagine that idea, the kind of idea of just like putting these people in like a horrible situation that roughly reflects like humanity's history, and then they make it really, oh man, it's a bad one. it's
Amazing.
I feel like
we'll get to
I I feel like in my head, because like, so like, I'm just gonna put it out here, all fans are awful. Every person who likes a thing, you fucking suck. I fucking suck. We all fucking suck.
We include ourselves in that. Yeah.
I'm a fucking weeb. So basically, any sort of like fantasy fiction type thing like this, in my brain, that's what it's always comparing it to. And that's like one of the main reasons why I could never get into fucking like the original Star Wars, is because it's like going back and watching the 80s Star Wars and like the storyline, I'm like, I can think of like 13 shows that tell this story way better, that has like more fucking that's like way more intense, and like just the acting is better, and they don't even have real fucking people in it. Like, so
Trigun, Outlaw Star, Cowboy Bebop.
like there's like way more things that tell this fucking story. So I guess, so I'm gonna tell you, my hopes aren't high with this show so far. I mean, it was okay. It was
rock
like a
bottom.
It was an okay episode. It's about like what I expected, you know. I just I'm just like anytime, like I'm thinking, I'm like, okay, like you heard what I said. I want like, not necessarily like dark and gritty, but like I want to see like these like future people who have known peace for fucking ever be confronted with like the exact opposite. Like I want them to like know true, like just like shit. I want to see them like suffer. I want them to go back to like whatever, like the main headquarters of the end of like Starfleet or whatever the fuck it is, just ragged, like fucking Picard's missing an eye, like fucking Data. Data's like completely like reconstructed, or like the only way to keep Geordi alive is to have him like grafted to Data, and like they have to like fight over like uses of like the body and shit like that.
like Voldemort.
Yeah, Starfleet's just like, what the fuck happened? We just sent you. You were just supposed to pick up somebody. We sent you on an Uber mission. Like
that's just Voyager.
At first I was gonna be like, oh, that's just Deep Space Nine, and then it's like, oh, that's just Voyager, and then it's like, oh, that's just Event Horizon. Good movie, check it out.
Yeah, good movie. Well, yeah, no, Deep Space Nine. You want some shit.
Deep Space Nine.
I want to see these people. I want to see these people fucking suffer. Like that's the only that's like I is it take it maybe take it for like my brain space at this current time in the year of whoever's Lord fucking 2021, where there's like where like the future of humanity just looks so fucking bleak. To see these assholes frolicking in space and just like arguing, having the time and opportunity to argue with a god over like morality, eat the entirety of my ass. Like I don't want to fucking like get the fuck out of here.
And of course, but of course, that is what Star Trek is about. It's the utopian future that we are increasingly absolutely never going to see. But according to the Star Trek timeline, it gets a lot worse. Even now, it gets a lot worse. 2024. That's when the sanctuary districts happen, and that's the.
We're on course for that.
Yeah, we're on course. 2024 is also when the Irish reunification happens, which apparently which is specifically stated that terrorism was a big part in. That's a famous line from Star Trek. Base Gene Roddenberry, 32 counties.
Chocolate our law, everybody.
Chucky our law, folks. So in the all in so much interesting third. There's so what a expansive, wonderful universe Star Trek has, where we can explore these concepts of a utopian future that none of us are ever going to see because we're all going to burn to death on our stupid planet.
Don't they? And they literally just waste it. They waste their hologram. They waste their holodeck like to sing fucking sea shanties on a boat.
Dude, I mean, you trying to begrudge them having fun?
Yeah. Don't begrudge them the wreck. It's also for fucking as well. Keep that.
That's true.
Yeah. No. That's what I'm saying. Like, I would be fucking hell.
Oh yeah, well, Deep Space Nine, buddy.
What's the fucking cleanup in a holodeck? Like, for real? Is there like a sanitize button? Because like I could just.
Just teleport into space.
This episode is coming up, but there is oh no, I'm sorry, I'm mixing up 2 episodes, but there's one coming up where Riker meets like a woman that he falls in love with, who's like a hologram, and of course there's often even in the Next Generation there's often the question of a fucking on a holodeck. Of course, everyone uses it for fucking. A holodeck is your private time. It's what you do. It's very taboo to interrupt another person's holodeck experience.
Because they're
fucking, folks. And there's another thing about that too is that, and this is one of the only times we ever really see something like this. Wesley in the holodeck jumps into water and gets wet and then walks out of the holodeck and is still wet.
Well, there's that nice little explainer in there, right? Where Data explains what the holodeck's doing, and it's creating matter. That is what is in the holodeck.
And then it gets retconned to not be that.
Hell yeah. In the future, if you have a breeding kink, let's go.
Oh my god. Oh, I mean, hey, it's real. The fan fiction potential is endless with the holodeck, literally.
I mean, why would you ever leave if you have holodeck technology? Why do you need to go and like? Why do you need to like go into the fucking? That's it.
I mean,
I'm sorry. Like, I'm
sorry. That's
like,
something that I've thought about too. Like, I have to imagine that on Earth, there's not only just like large, gigantic holodecks, just like that a lot of people can go to in kind of like a Westworld style scenario, as well as like private ones where people just have holo emitters just set up in their house and have their own holodecks, or like a place where they can go, like it's kind of like having a VR headset, I suppose.
Yeah. But like you can, but like,
you can fuck in it.
But yeah, but there's fucking.
Oh, you can fucking VR too. But
Yeah, but like you can feel it. You can like experience.
Yeah, you don't need one of those machines that strokes you off. You don't need a frick machine. You've got the holograms. They're there. You wanna have sex with a tentacle monster? The holodeck will make that happen.
Yeah,
For sure.
Yeah.
You know, but here's the thing, okay? Do you want to, like, I get it. Like, the holodeck can take you anywhere. You could do anything. But I mean, you know, do you want to watch TV all day?
Yes.
I mean,
if the TV can fuck me, if the TV can provide whatever I need, like, can you eat in the holodeck? Well, yeah, no, because you can,
Yeah, you
because
can.
like they have, yeah, because why would you ever fucking leave?
Well, see,
you can literally like you could like not even it's not even about sex. Like, I mean, yeah, like you're like, oh, would you begrudge them having fun? It's like, no, like if like what you want to do is go fucking like, and isn't there like an entire Moby Dick episode? Like, isn't there like a whole time where like they just maybe I'm thinking.
I forget.
There's a scene where they're on a boat. That's in one of the movies.
Oh, okay. But like, yeah, if you wanted to like relive the entire like a fucking story, like if you wanted to like relive, you know, or like be set in the world of like an entire fucking book and just like experience it, and you're getting fucking everything, like the food, the smells, like the fucking everything about it. Like that's more than just sitting on your ass watching TV. That's literally everything.
And of course that is something that ends up happening. Later on in the series we'll see and of course this is used also in other series in many ways, but the potential of the holodeck is explored greatly, and in this it's just, I guess it's just, you know, it's the pilot episode, it's the introduction, it's just Data hanging around in a fucking forest, like everyone's wild, like, wow, this terrible set looks so much like the real outdoors. It's crazy.
I think it's funny that like in order to like feel more human, he goes to like this land of make believe to like, but it's just like the other thing is it's just like with these people living in like this perfect utopian future with like a box that they can just go into and have everything that they could ever imagine just met for them, and like do like they have no concept. Like I can't imagine them having like a true concept of like not necessarily suffering, but like how do you appreciate anything really? Like where's your like what do you know, like what's your like everything?
There's some discussion of that, like that, like not everybody grew up in the Federation proper, and not everybody has had all their needs met their entire life. Tasha Yar specifically talks about that quite a bit.
The rape gangs.
Yeah, she talks about that a few times, if I remember correctly. And there's a lot of that kind of stuff that happens, and also, you know, when they meet other races or other species in space, and it's something that they
other colonies of humans as well. That was a very common thing in the original series as well. Yeah. They'd meet humans, then the humans are like Nazis or gangsters or whatever, or honestly just struggling, because a lot of the colonies seem to have just end up being like 5 people on a desert planet, and they're like, we can't eat. Yeah, so
we got to deliver all this triticale. Oh wait, the tribbles are here and they ate all the food, and now a bunch of people are going to starve. Is something, a specific episode in the original series, The Trouble with Tribbles, faces the problem of, oh no, we had pests get on board of our ship and eat all the food that we were going to give to these people who need to eat.
Oh my god!
And then didn't Captain Kirk fuck them all too? Then
what?
The Tribbles?
Fuck the Tribbles?
Yeah,
no, Kirk didn't fuck the Tribbles.
I thought that was like a whole thing.
No,
I thought
you're thinking of the Red Letter Media video where that one guy fucks a porg. It's similar but different. No.
Tribbles are like those like little like puffball things,
yes.
Right?
Yeah, they're little furry things. Yeah. No, Kirk doesn't. They wouldn't have let that fly in the original series, anyways, because it was the '60s.
This was the '60s. You can't fuck a Furby back then.
You can't even infer that you're gonna fuck a Furby in the '60s.
You can't even kiss a black woman.
Well, they did that.
Exactly.
But they did that. Yeah.
They did that, but of course, you know, it was because they had to. What if you had to do miscegenation once because an evil alien will kill you if you don't?
Well, I mean, you know, that's how you're going to sell it to the censors.
Exactly.
Warning. Warp core collapse in 10 seconds.
So basically, y'all can tell, like, I've never fucking, like, obviously I've never seen this shit, right? But like, but as somebody who has never like seen like a full episode of like any Star Trek, at least not one that I paid attention to, look at this picture and tell me why I wouldn't assume, knowing like the memes of Captain Kirk.
Yeah, no, for sure. Yeah, no, that's just that's immediately after, and this is why he's spiking the camera right there, is because he opens up a panel in the ceiling and all of fall out on him, and then he goes and
Zotz
mugs the camera.
Zotz has pulled up a picture of Kirk like going well, what do you have here kind of phase of him just being covered with tribble. So we can definitely see the confusion here.
I understand where you got that from.
Yeah,
but don't worry, he didn't. Also, I don't know. There was like a couple of scenes where I just saw like, I don't know. There was a spot in there I'm remembering distinctly. I don't remember the time code or anything like that, but it's a close in on Picard's like profile, and like the entire top left corner of the screen was just darkness.
Like the first scene when he when they're like kind of like coming in on the ship and zooming into a window and Picard's there.
No, I don't remember exactly where it was.
I know what you're talking about, though. I thought like something was wrong with my monitor for a second.
Yeah, and I was just like, "This is really bad."
Do not adjust your monitor.
Why is half of Picard's head just missing right now? And it's like there's a lot of those kind of things that show up, and you're just like, "What is happening?"
Yeah.
Where did you go wrong here?
And that's the thing. I really don't notice this stuff like very much at all. There's some people that notice the stuff a lot. I believe Brian as well watches Red Letter Media stuff. They talk about Star Trek fairly often. They talk about noticing like weird stuff with the sets. I don't notice that too much because I mostly just watch the parts that I like, and then I could rewatch 1,000 times and never get tired of. But man, you really notice this stuff a lot more in the early seasons because you're bored because it's boring. I will say this episode had like heart in the same way that like an episode of Farscape has heart, but it's also by the way, Wreck on Farscape, good show, but it's also very boring. I was very bored. I knew it was boring, and I was more bored than I even thought I would be during large stretches of watching Encounter at Farpoint. Maybe I'm getting ahead of myself here.
It's one of those things where watching it, it doesn't. The way that I watch Star Trek media,
if you said Star Wars, you were getting kicked off.
Yeah, I was about to.
The first one to make that mistake. I will make that mistake, and I will throw myself off this podcast.
So while watching Star Trek, I'm never like 100% in it because of that, right? Where it's like the pacing is slow, and because I cannot focus on it exclusively unless I'm like ill.
I sleep through it all the time. That's what I do.
Yeah, absolutely. I will always have something else going on while I'm watching it. And I can still pay pretty good attention if I choose the right thing to do as I'm watching it. But that's honestly the only way that I really can get through a lot of Star Trek. Like DS9, not so much. DS9 is pretty engaging.
Yeah, very engrossing. Voyager too, because Voyager is kind of like an action schlock mostly.
Yeah, Voyager definitely leans more into the action schlock stuff, which ends up, well, as it comes with philosophy of Trek. I don't love that, but I do think that it's very watchable. Yeah. I forgot what I was going to say.
I'm sorry.
I don't know if I had a point.
Well, the next thing is the saucer separation. Now, we talked a bit about this. And Zot said something very that anyone familiar with the series is going to find very funny. That's like, oh, so they're separating the saucer section in order to like keep the civilians safe. I assume they do this in every battle, like anytime they're about to go into a dangerous situation, and of course, the answer, spoiler alert, is no. They basically never do. There's a one famous time when that happens, but they separate the saucer in order for the saucer to take on an important role in the battle as well.
So ridiculous.
Yeah. So the other famous time that they actually separate the saucer section is when they're using it to fight. Do they do it in the last episode? I don't remember. I don't even think they do it then. They when the fuck else do they do it? I'm sure.
I don't remember. Let's not get ahead of ourselves.
Yeah.
We'll get there.
Okay, all right. Here's the thing, right? Like, I understand the budget is like there, but I mean, like in shit like this, like it's very easy to just be like, for like whatever, Picard to be like, disengage the civilians, and then it's just like automatically assumed that like the fucking children are yeeted off into space for safety for like a little bit.
I was gonna say that exact same thing. Yeah.
It's like okay, fine. Like it's just like, yeah, they do that. Like you don't see it, but you know that they do it. Like I'd be okay with that. Like not this fucking thing where it's just like, oh, we know we can do this thing, and I'm supposed to be like a really good like pragmatic captain, and like I'm going to put myself on the line for my crew, and I'm going to make sure my crew can like whatever, and I'm going to bring this my right hand man to make children comfortable around me. That's fucking weird.
That is weird element of the show. Absolutely. That's a recurring thing.
But like,
I'm
gonna bring them on. But like, but like in the future, they're all gonna die. They're all none of these people who are like seasoned, none of these people who have like been to like the fucking whatever academy, like none of them are trained, like none of these people are like trained in combat or like whatever. A lot of these people are just like tagging along because I'm assuming they're like families of the crew.
Yeah, largely.
So so it's like, it's like these people that are just like, like, oh well you were in the fucking you were in the warp core or whatever, like you're quadrant D just ended up getting absolutely fucking obliterated in the last space photon fight we had, and then it's just like, well, why didn't you disengage the civilian pod?
They'll be like racing into the fucking neutral zone to confront the Romulans, and it's just never brought. It's just not a consideration. There's just families on board as they go into the dangerous situation, and they just don't think about it. And I guess part of it is that they shoot themselves in the foot by establishing a separate bridge for the business end of the Enterprise, and so like, oh, we'd have to transfer sets and blah blah blah, and we have to clean this other set, and it smells like, and everyone's hanging up their third uniforms there because there's no more room in the laundry basket, and so it kind of smells really bad.
Like, I could see if they're just like, oh man, these nerds are gonna pay too much attention to this fucking show because they literally look at every fucking detail. And as soon as we say that, like, there's families on board, they're gonna be like, oh, what do you do when there's an emergency? And ha ha ha, this is so unbelievable. And it's just like, okay, so then somebody's just like, okay, we'll just make it detach, and then we'll never do it again because they'll never critique it after that.
Yeah, and it's like, why would the bridge, even in the fiction of the show, why would the bridge even fiction be on the saucer section where they would have to transfer? That doesn't make sense either.
Does the saucer section, like, the other thing I was thinking of is, like, does the saucer section have its own, like, propulsion? Does it have its own weapons?
Yes,
like,
yes.
how much power does it have? Like, how far can it just drift off into space on its own without, like,
it's its own vessel. It can go to warp. It can do everything. I don't know how. There's like no nacelles, and they never established like a second warp core. I guess there's just like a backup warp core in like another shed somewhere in order to keep the saucer section. But like the fiction is supposed to be that like the Enterprise has the saucer section. It's largely
superfluous, extra,
superfluous.
Yeah.
It's largely superfluous to the function of the ship, and they even call it like bulky. And Worf says like the Enterprise is the fierce fighter once it's relieved of its bulk, aka the saucer section, and it's confusing certainly, but yeah, it has its own warp core, it has its own weapons, has its own stuff, and similarly confusingly, pretty much all of the weapons that you'll ever see fired come out of the saucer section of the ship, because like the phasers, I don't know if we ever see phasers fired in this first episode. I don't think we do.
No.
But the beams come out of the top of the saucer section. So yeah, none of this shit makes sense. No, absolutely none of this.
none of
It's got
It doesn't
a big
track.
fucking. It's got a big fucking phaser array that's basically around the circle of the entire perimeter of the saucer, and then the battle part of the ship has like a couple photon torpedo launchers, and that's all you see.
And wait, hold on. Can we just like think of the design of the fucking ship? Like, why put the civilians on the front?
Yeah.
Like, why put like
it
the most
looks
vulnerable
good.
people like on the front of your ship? Like, where it's just like, yeah, like nobody was just like, hey, is this a bad design? Nah, we're good.
Well, yeah, and also another thing, it's exactly that same point. The bridge is on the deck one, the very fucking top of the tippy fucking top of the fucking ship. It's just this little nub that's sticking out, and we see this much more so we see that actually pretty commonly in Enterprise, where the bridge gets targeted, and yeah, there's just they blow off a little chunk from the top, and that's actually like a consideration, but that doesn't make any sense that the fucking command center of the fucking ship is just on the tippy top little nub of the ship, the hypothetically most easily destroyed section. In one of the movies, it's like literally destroyed as the Enterprise like rams into another ship, and there's just a huge fucking hole, and then Data jumps through it and explodes and fucking vaporizes himself. Yeah. bad movie. Oh no. Yeah, no.
Okay, so
Shit don't make
one thing that I just want to point out, though, and I think this is an important thing when considering design options here, is that before I think pretty late into Deep Space Nine, yeah, it's like season 3 or 4 of Deep Space Nine, which is set after this show. There are
concurrent to the end after the show, yeah. They ran, yeah.
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 But you know what I'm saying. In the timeline, by the time that happens, the Federation doesn't have warships, and that's like that's something very specific that they talk about sometimes, is they say the Federation doesn't build warships. We don't do that. We don't build fighting ships. What we do is we build explorer ships, and so they'll have like, it's all science ships basically, and they're supposed to go travel throughout the galaxy, and they'll be equipped with weapons because it's dangerous out there, but it's not something that's not supposed to be the focus, right? And that is the reason why there's like families on board of these ships, and
But once
why.
again, they already admit that it's dangerous, and like they've encountered like people like the Klingons, and like they know of the Borg and like shit like this, right? Like,
They don't know about the Borg yet.
oh, they don't know about. Okay, I thought that was like just like a whole thing.
That's something that that gets introduced as a way to specifically challenge that assumption, because again, yeah, they don't have battleships. They have these exploratory ships, and then the Borg are brought in specifically. You know, this is another Q episode actually, specifically as an example of, like, you're fucking gallivanting around space, like dealing with these minor anomalies and small dangers and familiar enemies and things like this. And this is here's what space really is. You know, these are unimaginable horrors and just gross treasures. Here's something that you are not prepared to deal with. This is what this shit is like. This is what is out there.
You're not prepared for what awaits you.
How can we be prepared for that which we do not know? But I do know that we are ready to encounter it.
Really?
Yes, absolutely. That's why we're out here.
Oh, the arrogance. They don't have a clue as to what's out here.
But they will learn. Adapt. That is their greatest advantage.
They're moving faster than expected, further than they should.
By whose calculations?
You judge yourselves against the pitiful adversaries you've encountered so far. The Romulans, the Klingons. They're nothing compared to what's waiting. Picard, you are about to move into areas of the galaxy containing wonders more incredible than you can possibly imagine. And terrors to freeze your soul.
And the question then is, are we prepared for that? Are we going about this in the right way? Is our mission of exploration naive?
If you can't take a little bloody nose, maybe you ought to go back home and crawl under your bed. It's not safe out here. It's wondrous, with treasures to satiate desires both subtle and gross. But it's not for the timid.
And the answer to that is no. This is commendable. This is the idealized version of humanity, a curious people that have a insatiable desire to learn about the world around them and coexist with that world, and that's the dream of the Federation. So the family, the positioning of the family is, it's not important because it's not a battleship. It's a ship of exploration. They're not supposed to be fighting. They do end up fighting a lot. You know, there's a lot of action bullshit, and they do end up getting into a lot of like horribly dangerous situations where it absolutely would make sense to at least separate the fucking saucer section. But yeah, the consideration is that it's about family.
It's about family.
It's about
family.
Something that I'd love to mention is the extremely manufactured tension with the saucer reintegration. So the scene is that that Riker comes on board and Picard is going to like test Riker. They had separated the saucer section before to do a thing, and they're reintegrating the saucer section. And I don't know what exactly the justification is. I think Picard is just like fucking out or testing with Riker. And so they're going to reintegrate the saucer section, and they're going to do it manually. No automatic. They're doing it manually.
But then he sits the fucking robot at the control panel. So it's just like the robot who like earlier said that he remembers everything that he's ever like done.
Yes.
Like he forever remembers like everything. Like he just never forgets, right? So it's like if he's done that motion once, he's done it over and over again. Like you don't need,
if he can imagine it, if he can simulate it perfectly, like he doesn't even need to have experienced it. He can do anything.
So so it's like what the fuck's his name again?
Data.
The fucking no the Riker. Yeah, Riker. So yeah, no, Riker had it right. Riker fucking played it right. He was just like, Data, do it. Like,
and it's this very tense scene. It's supposed to be set up in this extreme tension. Everyone's fucking sweating. Deanna Troi is looking like she's having a panic attack, which is a very common acting choice for her, I guess.
Yeah, it really is. Wow, you look like you've completely detached from yourself right now.
You look like you look like you're on a moderate dose of ketamine right now. Are you okay? you're spaced out, but you're freaking at the same time. What is happening? And you don't know what the tension is. Like what are they so panicked about? If they fuck this up, are they gonna blow up the ship? If there's that much tension, why are you testing? Okay, so if the stakes are high, then it's stupid. If the stakes are low, then the scene is stupid. It's
yeah, like why Picard must really fucking hate children if he's just like do it manually. It's like, sir, that's you realize that if we fail this, the whole nursery blows up. And Picard just like gives him this look.
Engage.
And he's just like engage.
Oh god.
And shortly after that, we have the thing that I completely forgot, the constantly suffering Geordi. I did not remember that Geordi is just in a literal constant state of, I guess, like semi-dull pain, which, I mean, mood, I suppose, but he can't take painkillers for it. I can. Poor Geordi, my fucking god. Like, there's a lot of O'Brien. O'Brien Must Suffer is like a meme and also a deliberate writing choice in Deep Space Nine. A lot of the best episodes of Star Trek, just in general, are Brian Must Suffer episodes. There's a lot of Geordi must suffer. Not nearly as much as the Brian equivalent, but man, they love putting their engineers through some shit, don't they?
They really do, yeah.
Geordi has a real fucking rough, even though a lot of the time. He gets kidnapped and brainwashed and assassinates and almost ends up accidentally starting a war because he's been Manchurian candidated.
Yeah,
he's been MK Ultra'd.
Yeah, if you can't make a soup out of the sweat coming off of an engineer's brow, you're fucking up in Star Trek. That's what I'm saying.
And that really does end up being a now that I think about it, that's a real like line. That's a pretty common thing in all the series. Of course, not counting the new ones. Who fucking cares about the new ones?
Well, they never did it to B'Elanna Torres, though. Really,
no. Like, Torres goes through some real shit. Like,
she does, but because of so much makeup, they can't make her sweat.
Well, she does. I distinctly remember a lot. Sweat. People getting real fucking sweaty is a very common thing in Voyager. Yeah. Much more common. And this is obviously like a Rick Berman fetish. Just like sweaty meat people. And I really think that's true because famously Rick Berman was heavily involved in Voyager and heavily involved in Enterprise, and Voyager has a lot of like Captain Janeway and 7 of 9 are coming out of the holodeck playing racquetball and they are just fucking soaked. they're like just realistic sweat, as if the actors themselves had actually been like working out, and maybe they were. And then in fucking Enterprise, you get scenes of this like horny scenes of sweaty characters literally rubbing each other down in fucking decontamination. It's disgusting and erotic. It's horrible. the imagery. Why the fuck did I start talking about
I'm
this?
totally lost about this. Yeah, I don't know why you're talking about it.
There's the very interesting scene that I always.
We were talking about how like Geordi is in a constant amount of pain, and then you just went in to talk about like how people are rubbing on each other. I just like
the sweat finish of Star Trek.
Yeah, that bothered like. that bothered me, how like they were just like he's just like, well, they're like, well, you can take drugs, and he's like, yeah, but then I can't use this device anymore. And then they're like, okay, well, you can do exploratory surgery, yeah, but that puts me under the same thing as like, you know, that affects my brain in the same way that the drugs would do, but it's permanent. And it's just like, so yeah, I'm just gonna keep, thanks doc, I'm just gonna keep going on. And so it's just kind of like, yeah, so it's just like, but once again, like,
and that
you
gets
know, there's
dropped. I mean, honestly, that's not just like a follow through that they talk about like going on. That's just forgotten. Honestly,
I mean, I find it fucking interesting, like as like a character fucking
unfortunately it is
whatever character trait where it's just like, oh, like just like give me an episode one day where just like Geordi's just having like a really bad flare up and like Picard just gives him a fucking answer and he's just like, no I like how come, wait, we're being attacked, how come we don't have any alarms right now? Because I can't, okay? Because I can't, because I just
can't deal with this shit.
I can't.
Yeah, I like you'll see it a little bit, you know, if you keep it in mind while you're watching, you'll see it where, you know, he'll just like, he like groans a lot. Like his character does seem to be in pain quite often, and I don't know if that's something that like was specifically written in to represent that, but like you could definitely tell a lot of the time.
I'm definitely going to keep that in mind going forward watching the series. That's going to be an interesting thing to keep in mind. More it's kind of like another thing with Troy, and I don't remember where I first heard this. It was probably like a Red Letter Media thing, where watching the show pretending that Troy doesn't actually have any powers. she's just kind of like she's just kind of feeling the vibe and just pretending she's just a fucking scam artist. That makes it hilarious from the beginning, where these very strange scenes of Troy demonstrating her powers by just absolutely freaking out. It provides a new flavor to the character.
Absolutely.
This is the fan interpretation, and it's an interesting one to consider going forward.
Can we just how about this? How about like let's take it up a notch? How about Picard is the only one that's qualified? Picard and the Doctor are the only ones that are actually qualified. Everyone else is just like faking it. They're all just complete fucking flunkies. Whoa. Data's like one of those fucking like people that like dresses up as like statues to fucking like make change on the street. He's not an android. Like he's just like whatever, but he just has like really good intuition for like shit. Like he's just really good at like just like critical thinking. So like he's just always like ahead of shit.
I have one thing I really want to bring up.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Miles O'Brien.
He's there.
He's there.
I don't know if he has a line, but he's there.
I don't know who that is.
Miles O'Brien becomes a recurring character on The Next Generation, and then one of the main cast members on Deep Space Nine, a fan favorite character, if you will, with an increasingly growing role. I guess what the fuck's the guy's name in real life?
Colm something. I can't remember.
McConnelly or whatever the fuck. He's the Irish propaganda character for Star Trek. Chucky. Wait, is he Scottish or Irish?
I don't remember.
Cut this part.
Cut it.
Computer, erase that entire personal log.
Here's something that directly integrates with the conception of the podcast, and this is a big topic. We'll talk about this again in the future. The economy of Star Trek. At one point, Dr. Crusher buys some cloth, like literally goes and says, charge it to my ship. Now, there's explicitly, and especially like in Next Generation, there's no sorry, this it's more explicit in Deep Space Nine, but it is explicit to implied in Next Generation that there's no money. There's literally no money at all in the Federation, because there's no and this is the innate appeal of Star Trek to the leftist audience, like the utopian leftist audience, where there's no money because there's no even imagined scarcity. You can make things out of thin air, and even when you can't, there is the abundance of like machinery and, how should I say this, labor is not a thing in the way that like Marx defines labor. There's no money, people don't buy things, you can get whatever the fuck you want, and the only thing that you work towards, and this is said specifically, the point of living in the future is to pursue your own interests, to grow as a person, and that's what the Federation is about, and that's the aspirational side of it. But there's a lot of waffling on the specifics of it, and this is where you come into the limitations of a like utopian communist society that is written by a lot of like semi-progressive libs. That this is what you get, a kind of something where money exists sometimes and not really. The labor exists sometimes but not really. Is it a military context? Is it not? And let's not even fucking get into the new shit where poor people and racism exist. That's not Star Trek. But poverty.
Oh man, I would love to like to see an episode where like, you know, they're like Picard's just like engines, we need power, we're on break.
Yeah.
but what do you mean you're on break, we're under attack?
Actually, you know, in a couple.
Talk to the fucking union. We're on break.
In a couple ways, that does end up happening in a funny way, where people will be like, oh, you know, they're like on break in their quarters, or like at in the holosuites or something like that. That happens quite famously often. Someone will be in the holosuites and then get stuck in there while they're needed outside for something.
And that's one of the important things with Star Trek. They show the leisure time of these people. Like it's not all work.
Yeah, and so when they're
even in these military people.
Sorry, can't come out right now. And even if I did, I'd be a little sticky because I'm. I have the slime girl hologram thing, and I'm just being filled. Like I'm just
getting filled up.
I am getting covered.
Yeah. So, you know, it is referenced, at least, that like people are doing things and having leisure time, and that like ultimately they're getting called in to work on their days off and stuff like that. Now, is there any sort of recourse for that? No, they're in what is functionally the military and don't have that option.
Yeah, but for society in general, for the Federation society, you don't need to work. You never need to work. You never need to do anything. You can do whatever the fuck you want, whenever the fuck you want. You want to live your life inside of a slime girl in the holodeck. You can do that. Implied that you can do that, but you can do that.
Mm-hmm.
But that sort of gets muddled with the presence of money, and then later on in different series they talk about like shit jobs and stuff, and the presence of like automation, and of course it's a big topic. But here's our introduction to that.
Does Data ever like get confronted by like the by like an actual fucking robot? Like one robot that's like not an android, but like a fucking like a Roomba. Like, does he just like, is there just like one thing that's just like cleaning? Because I mean, even in Star Wars, they had those fucking like, you know, those like little buffer bots that would just like slide around, even on the Death Star, right? That were just like
Next Generation, as far as I understand.
But in Voyager, certainly,
like
and
Data,
I think Ryan's gonna say this.
Mm-hmm. Data comes out of the fucking holodeck. He just like mastered the whistle. Like he's like so proud of himself. And then like he just hears like from the hallway all by himself, just And it's just he just like stares at this fucking Roomba, and he just knows he's like confronted with like the reality that he'll still never truly be human. Just like having this like fucking like this like crisis in his mind, like.
There is something very similar to that, but in a different way, where Data ends up advocating for machines that are not androids, such as himself. They do explore artificial life. They explore it more, and as much as Voyager has its problem in interesting ways in Voyager, but it's with holograms specifically, like artificial constructs that entirely resemble people and do have emotions, and it's a whole thing. But yes, somewhat, yeah. There's some interesting stuff with Data. Data is one of the characters that thankfully does have a lot of like depth and exploration in his stuff. In fact, he might have the most of anyone in this series, because his journey is the most interesting one, as being a being that is not actually alive, which is something that they talk about explicitly. A lot of philosophy. These are the Star Trek things that we're not going to get to for a while.
I mean, you know, there was supposedly a lot of philosophy in fucking The West Wing too, but it didn't actually go anywhere.
Well, but it does go somewhere later on in Star Trek. It kind of circles around in here. This way, well, I'm so excited for us to get into the racism episode. It's not an episode of. Sorry, it's not. It is not an episode about racism. It is a racist episode. Let me be clear.
Oh my god!
Everyone, when you say the racist episode, and someone's familiar with with Next Generation, everyone knows what you're talking about. Brian knows what I'm talking about.
I actually don't, like, off the top of my head.
Does Riker like just say like some sort of pejorative term for Worf, and like everyone just gets like really quiet?
No.
No, it is simply, the episode is simply not about racism. It is a racist episode. We'll get to it. It's actually, and that's not something we'll get to in like in the far distance. Is that next episode? That might literally be next episode. Actually, hold on. The Naked Now, Code of Honor. It's episode 3. We'll be there very soon. No spoilers on that front. We'll get to that certainly.
Except that it's the racist episode.
It's a racist episode.
As if that's not a little bit of a spoiler right there, but you know.
No, it's not. Well, get fucking ready. Here we go.
Specify parameters.
I do really appreciate when Data picks up Wesley out of the water and is just holding him in the air and is like smiling really creepy at him. And Wesley's just like, neat.
Yeah, like Data gave him this look like I could literally just snap this person's neck and nobody would just like, wait, would anybody care?
I could throw you to the fucking wall of this holodeck like that rock earlier, and you'll hit a bunch of fucking pixels. I could snap your spine in half a fucking second.
It's like one of those guys who goes into the Marines and comes back and is like, I could kill you in 20 ways right now. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's like, fuck you, man.
Good.
You relax. Put your feet up. And I will take care of everything.
Future fashion. This happens all the time when and especially, I guess this is kind of just a general thing. It gets better in, I think, Deep Space Nine. It's real bad in Voyager. It's real bad in Next Generation. The fashion that is not like a Starfleet uniform. Everything looks like the most fucking like Cosby Show shit. The only way I can describe it, all people are wearing just like these big colorful sweaters with these just unfathomably ugly designs. Wesley, when he goes onto the, I don't know, remember if this was when he goes onto the bridge, he's wearing like a green sweater with like these vertical ruffled lines over every part of it.
Mm-hmm. That's actually a traditional Scottish design, but with green color.
Really?
Well, no, it's not actually, but it's like kind of reminiscent of it.
It looks awful.
Yeah.
All of the casual fashion in this show, it just is absolutely abysmal. There'll be the uniforms that like certain species wear, and then those look fine, and then but just like the casual fashion, you'll see like Geordi on like a really creepy date in the holodeck, and they're both just wearing the fucking ugliest thing you've ever seen in your entire life.
Mm-hmm.
They bring up the prime direction. They bring up the prime directive. This is a very important Star Trek thing. Prime Directive is in the original series, right? That's an important thing.
I believe so, and it exists to be broken.
Yeah, and the Prime Directive is basically the don't do colonialism rule. It is the guiding principle of Star Trek. It's non-interference. You see another culture, you don't fuck with it. That's not what we do. We don't nation build. We don't conquer. We don't do anything. We can render assistance when it's asked for, but we are explorers. We're learners. We're not meddlers. We're here to live our best life, and we're not here to change anyone else's. Infinite diversity and infinite combinations, that kind of stuff. But it's mentioned in a particularly strange way where they're thinking about violating it if they go to help the save the people that are getting fucking drone striked by the jellyfish. And they're trying to like make a workaround for it, like, oh, we can't help them because of the Prime Directive. What? Really? That okay? Well, that's something that gets retconned. But they're negotiating with us to be a potential ally. Or is the Prime Directive only supposed to be that we help our allies? That's not what happens. They changed that. That's a weird one. So the plot at this point, Q's putting them on trial. They have to discover the mystery of the jellyfish space station. Troy has psychic things. A UFO shows up. That UFO is actually a jellyfish. It starts drone striking the abandoned city. Q foreshadows an upcoming episode with Riker. That's really terrible. Can't wait for that. But they start hinting at the Picard and Crusher relationship. Or at least they talk about like their past in a strange way.
Imzadi.
Well, sorry, this is the Picard and Crusher. The Riker Troy stuff that gets introduced here is weird shit. The Imzadi telepathic scene, it's cringe. It's weird. This is very clearly like a sexual Gene Roddenberry thing, as many things are, because Gene Roddenberry is a weirdo with a huge ego. So he loves doing weird shit like this. The jellyfish kind of stuff is kind of beautiful. Once the jellyfish gets freed after they solve the mystery of the space jellyfish, they have this little like tentacle touch, like, and it showcases like this beautiful tenderness of these extremely alien creatures, and then the scene that is shot beautifully is ruined by cutting back to Troy, and then this scene that obviously showcases like this connection between these two beings that are so unalike from us. She goes, love and gratitude, great joy and gratitude, I sense it. Like,
sir, it's wonderful. A feeling of great joy and gratitude. Great joy and gratitude from both of them.
oh man, we close out with Q foreshadowing that he's gonna like show up and fuck with people in the future. A really interesting detail that I saw is that they kind of mentioned is that Starfleet is going to just build a Farpoint station. Like, you know, the people on the ground didn't really lose out. Like, you don't need to enslave the jellyfish to make a fake space station or ground station. Why do they call it a station? It's like
I don't know. It was weird.
It's a base. It's on a planet. Okay, whatever. You don't need to enslave the jellyfish. We'll just come build Farpoint Station. It's fine. Don't worry about it. We got this. You don't need to get drone struck by a jellyfish. And of course, we lead out on a famous Star Trek line. Everyone loves cutting to it. I'll cut to it at some point in this podcast, I'm certain. Picard sits down and they're going like and they're setting a course, and Picard goes, "Let's see what's out there," and it just is, it brings a tear to your eye, like, this is Star Trek. There's nothing else quite like, even in this even in the weird boring shit, especially in episode 1, there's nothing like Star Trek. Not a thing in the world. Especially the new Star Trek. It's not like Star Trek at all. Star Trek is a entirely unique thing, and I'm sure people will say like, oh, Star Trek is inspired by this. These things are inspired by Star Trek. There's really nothing that does Star Trek like Star Trek, and it's an ineffable quality that I can only explain with, this is Star Trek. This is a hopeful version of the future filled with these people that solve their problems by talking and not fighting, that showcase a competence but like a kindness.
It's the fucking West Wing. You're just explaining.
No, because there's a kindness to it as well, a kindness and a compassion for your fellow people. And West Wing, everything's snark. It's all snarky. No one likes anyone because it's all fucking Marvelized dialogue. Everyone's just snarky and shitty and just owning each other. But in Star Trek, everyone's kind. It's a utopian vision of a future that is ever inspiring in any age, even in this age of certain apocalypse for all of humanity. and of course you're probably not gonna get all that from this first episode, because this first episode fucking sucks.
Definitely not gonna get it all from the first episode here.
But that's coming from a Star Trek veteran like me and Brian. What's your review? What do you have to think? Just I know we've said a lot and we've hinted a lot, but if you were watching this just free from all that, what do you think of Star Trek season 1 episode 1 part 1 and 2 Encounter at Farpoint?
Like, I don't know. I feel like the same way you would like getting like a Snickers on a road trip. Like, you're just kind of like, Like you're like I'm hungry, but there's nothing else to eat, and I'm just gonna this is just like a thing that I'm just gonna partake in, and it's not gonna be like truly satisfying, but it'll be good enough for like right now. It'll just be good enough, and then I'll forget about it like in the next hour, and then when I see like a fucking like diner or whatever coming up, like that feeling.
I'm driving on the freeway. It's 3 a.m. and oh look, is that a Denny's? Oh, how lovely!
But not seeing the Denny's, eating the Snickers bar, like the forgettable fucking, like you're like shit. I'm hungry.
It's 20. It's I'm hungry. I don't have $20 to eat at Denny's. But oh look, is that a vending machine outside of a gas station? Oh
yeah,
a Snickers, huh? It's not expired. Okay.
Yeah, that's kind of how I feel like that. I hope that does that invoke a mood? Like does that?
Oh yeah.
Can you feel that? Does that?
I think that's a fine way to feel about that.
Yeah, you're perfectly justified in that. This sucked.
It is while I would say it is not terrible, it is a lower end of what is good Star Trek. It's on the lower end, the first episode. Also, it doesn't help that it's a fucking hour long.
And of course, an hour and a half. And of course, keep in mind, folks, and I can't stress this enough. I'm sure Brian agrees. Pretty much everyone that watches Star Trek agrees. Do not start, if you want to get someone into Star Trek, or you want to get into yourself, do not watch the original series. Number one, do not watch the first season of Star Trek: The Next Generation. Start at I don't know, season 3. Start with Best of Both Worlds, the two-parter. Maybe look up like a list of people's favorite episodes, or like the highest rated episodes. Maybe start from there. That's the good way of getting someone into it. Don't be like what we're doing to poor Zots here, just forcing Zots to watch this 80s crap.
I'm content.
And there you have it.
I'm a content.
I'm in danger.
And that's Star Trek, folks. That's Left Trek, folks. Tune in next time where we'll be probably covering another 2 episodes. You want to do that? Let's do 2 at a time. Then we won't have to.
Why not?
We won't have to have its own episode covering Code of Honor. Tune in next time where we cover The Naked Now, an episode that what's this one about? Oh no! Oh, it's a back-to-back shit show, folks. Stay tuned. Bye,
everyone.
Adios.
All stations, ready for departure, sir. Some problem, Riker?
Just hoping this isn't the usual way our missions will go, sir.
Oh no, number 1. I'm sure most will be much more interesting. Let's see what's out there. Engage.